did. Ready when you are. All right, good evening, everyone. We will get started. First item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Call meeting at 6:10. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 2. Oh, sorry. No intros on here, but we'll do a quick round of introductions. I am Christian Payne, Board Chair.
Kristen Bruno, Board Vice Chair.
Lori Escaloli, Board Member.
Dr. Chris Boyle, Director of Human Services. Salvatore Bucci, Business Manager.
Shannon Levy, Board Clerk.
Dr. Compton, School Superintendent.
James Garofalo, Board Member. Ed Schmo, Board Member.
Also on the phone, we have Kristen Harlan
And
and
Jay.
Jay Hatfield. Okay. Hello, good evening. Item 2, public comment. Anyone from the public like to make a comment? Second call for public comment. Third and final call for public comment. Okay, public comment is closed. Item 3, discussion and possible action. First item is the Seymour Education Budget 25-26. If everyone can take this is really helpful. For those on the phone, it is the budget adjustments. So if you look in the middle, you'll see all of the regression of the cuts that we've had to make in dollar amounts since the beginning of this budget season. And Sal, keep me honest here. So if we total all those up, we're at $1,163,054 of total cuts. That was from the budget that we approved all the way through to the last Board of Finance change. So, to more or less go through the proposed cuts that Dr. Compton has. In the top there, the itemized changes. The first change we have is at 390, 674, and that was the reduction of the medical expenses when we decided to change from the 20% to the 12%. So that's the 390, 674. The other items, if you look, the 3 items that we were going to add into this year's upcoming budget was the ELL teacher, the social worker at the middle school, and the pre-K teacher, the special ed. So that's another $349,932.
Just to be consistent with what we previously presented, that was for the elementaries,
That's correct.
the social worker.
Oh, right, yes, that
Yes,
was the,
that needs to be clarified.
yeah, that was split between the 2 elementaries. So then, in the next section, you'll see the employee benefit adjustment. So with going to the partnership plan, the savings that we realized from the change of no longer having to pay into the HSA and HRAs is the 211,163. However, we had a teacher put in for retiring after the deadline, so that longevity payment of $44,120 goes into the following fiscal year. And then we had one teacher switch, or basically elect into the plan, and that's at $38,544. So after those 3 numbers, that's $128,499. And then the other adjustments was the instructional supplies that we removed a couple weeks ago, and then the shared services, $297,34. So that's the first group. Yep.
Let me just comment for the audience and for anybody that's listening. You've got to understand with staffing and personnel, we have cut ever since I've been here, we have made lots of cuts. Have we added one or two additional teachers to enhance a program for the 21st century? We did do that, but the majority of cuts that we have done have been extensive. And I guess sometimes I'd like to put that out and share that with the public, also share it with the media, as I've expressed before. It's important to note tonight that with the staffing allocations that we are having to piecemeal because of the ELL mandates. We have one district-wide ELL teacher, and to piecemeal and be able to cover the mandate, we're having, again, to have to pull from our language arts consultant and combine again to meet the ELL mandate. And that person will be doing that at Bungie Elementary, and it will be a .5 language arts, and then the .5 ELL, and that is a Band-Aid approach. If we have more kids in the program, then we're gonna have to look from where we go if it be completely ELL. I did speak with that staff person today and said this is what we're dealing with because we could not get this position through. Another situation is with pre-K. Certain mandates with preschool for 3 and 4-year-olds and the special ed needs, also with peer mentoring, peer mentors, and the mandates that we're required to do at this current time, but not getting additional preschool teacher. And we've really worked on the program. It has really been enhanced. We've met the mandates, and I feel we have a quality curriculum. Kristen Bruno here is one of our board members, is also the preschool coordinator, special ed coordinator for Fairfield School District, and she knows even more than I know about preschool, but I can tell you we've really tried to build this program. So with another cut, the only other source that we have is trying to piecemeal with our inclusion facilitator, our elementary person, staff member, and she will be picking and trying to do the best she can with the preschool enrollment. And again, because of the kindergarten change of age, this has caused, again, increase in preschool staying over longer. That's why the need for more staffing was required. When all this got cut, then what do we do? I mean, it's nothing but just a piecemeal, get-by situation. So I just wanted to emphasize that to you, Mr. Champagne, and to the Board of Ed.
All right, thanks. So out of those, bear with me 1 second.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair. Do we have any viewers online? I'm just getting some messages that folks are having a hard time finding the link.
We have 18 concurrent viewers.
Okay,
It's on the
Okay.
website.
great.
Okay, so out of the top there, the reductions that we have are really that 396.74, and if you add up the next three, it's 847.165. So that brought us to, oops, did it again. $1,237,838, which left us with the 325.15. So if you go to the bottom, so I think most of us were more or less aware that the top was going to happen, and then under the additional proposed cuts, these are the new ones that Dr. Compton's putting together. And that those three items are basically reduction of the middle school science teacher, so the teacher that's retiring, not replacing. The reduction of the music teacher, who's shared between the high school and middle school. I believe he does the chorus at the middle school. And then we had taken a vote on eliminating the French program last week or the week before, and that's a reduction of 55,634. So out of those three staff adjustments, that's 271,400, and then the next bit to get us to that 325 is student-provided supplies. So we'll cut that out of our supply line item 53,815, which gets us to that 325,215, and the total of that $1.5 million reduction over our original budget.
Can I also talk to this a few minutes about it?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Okay, I'd also like for our attorney, Floyd Lucas, to come up and join us at the table, because we're also going to talk about MVR, just in case that may be the worst-case scenario here, what we're dealing with. I think it's real important here to see specifically at where we are, what we're looking at in the reduction. We have to cut something, and it's down to, what on earth can we cut? I mean, we are absolutely ripping and tearing our school district apart. We're taking away our arts and humanities and losing a music teacher. I find it devastating. It pulls from my heart that we have to eliminate another music teacher. Some kids don't all play sports. Some kids go in fine arts. Some kids are talented and do it all. But this is so sad. We have to lose a music position. I happen to have 2 degrees in music. I was a former music teacher once upon a time. And now we are taking another music teacher, which our children love, and we're having to move that person into the elementary school. I've already talked with this person. They know about the transfer on our committee. But we have no choice because of the budget cuts. We cut, and cut. Now, you look at the science position. We have a science teacher that is retiring here. Done a great job. When you look at attrition, you have to try to cut. Attrition, when somebody retires, is always the first place you look. Is there any way we can do a Band-Aid approach? And what can we do with the schedule? Well, right now, it's not helping the middle school any, because we've got to figure out exactly somebody else is going to teach in that science. Have I studied people's teaching certifications and endorsements? You bet.
Probably know some of them better than they know them, because after a while you forget all the things you add. So I've been looking at everybody's certification at the middle school, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, who can do cross-disciplinary areas. So we have to find a person who has a cert 4 through 8, general content, who can teach 7th grade science. This also means that we're going to lose our STEM program here, our STEM program, robotics, coding, building, engineering. When you think about it, look how our kids are going to lose out. And yet this person that's so talented is going to have to go back and teach social studies. We have a gorgeous facility here, and we're going to lose our STEM program. Parents, do not let this school system keep degenerate. We are losing ground every year. We're not going to be the same school district that Seymour's noted for. When you look around the surrounding districts, they raised their budgets. They met their contract mandates. And where are we? We're going down. We recently just got notification a few weeks ago, our top valedictorian is accepted to Harvard, Yale, and MTI. How many places can you say that the top valedictorian is going to all 3 Ivy League schools to be accepted? What does that say about Seymour Public Schools? He's been here since he was in elementary school. I mean, what does that tell you? I mean, this is sad. Our other 2 valedictorians, and I'm not just on the top of the class kids, but when you think both past 2 years have been accepted, are students at Yale. We've had National Merit Commendable Scholars, 6 of them, 3 just this past year. And where are we? We're cutting. Wake up, parents. Wake up, community. Stand up for this school district. I am begging you. See what is going on. I came here 4 years ago, and I didn't come here to slice every year staffing. I came here to enhance the curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And I can't continue to do my job. Every time I look around, every year it's cut, 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 or somebody doesn't understand. You're only as good. A town, a community is only as good as its educational system. People buy houses because of the school communities. And look what the other places are doing. We've got to stop the bleeding. We have totally been gutted. That's what's going on with these last reductions. And of all things, in world languages, we'd had to lose French. And we have a board member who has been a French teacher, French professor for many years. Sad. Thank you, Champagne. I just wanted to just express how it hurts.
Yeah, so the science teacher, are we anticipating classroom sizes increasing for the science program?
I don't look so much for the increase, I look for a situation where there's actually going to be, just with reduction period, you're gonna have kids that are gonna be in more study halls and less academic labs on a middle school level.
So that would be a change to the schedule?
It'll be some tweaking of the schedule, yes, yeah. I can work the certification out the best that we can. We're gonna try to put the best person in the position that we can. But that's where we are. But we have to make cuts to get to the percentage of where we need to be.
Okay, and the music teacher, if I'm correct, that's the teacher that comes here for chorus and is also at the high school.
Right,
So,
and that person will be going to Chatfield and Presti because there is a vacancy there for next year. And that person will be transferred. They're a tenured person. And I've already spoke to them about it.
so, but the impact in this building will be that the current music teacher who does the band will have to now pick up the chorus.
Right.
So we have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade band. They all sort of play separately in classes, but what does that mean for?
Well, it also means with unified arts that the kids won't have as many opportunities. For example, if you're taking a music tech or a general music, there will not be as many general music openings, and that's why more kids are going to land in areas to where that they won't be given as many opportunities.
So like someone like me who wouldn't want to take art would take the music, but I
Right.
might not have that option.
Yeah. Be more limited.
And the French teacher, this has sort of been a thing coming, the French program, we eliminated at the middle school, 3-4 years ago, I think it was.
I think it was
So-
4 years ago you eliminated the
So
French
when you
program.
think about that, you've lost middle schoolers taking French, they now take Spanish. When you get to high school, you could start at Spanish 2 or French 1. So obviously they continued with Spanish, so this one was several years in the making.
And we've had an outstanding French teacher, just outstanding.
And then when we talk student-provided supplies,
Okay, here's where the rubber hits the road. We're not furnishing, we can't furnish crayons, pencils, notebooks, all of the things that the Board of Ed has always provided for our kids, especially the elementary level, because the little ones, especially kindergarten, I don't know, but they go through lots of crayons and lots of hands-on. We're not going to be providing student supplies anymore. Parents, they'll be getting their school list from the schools and from the teachers. And for those that don't have any resources, and some of us will do the best we can to donate, but people are going to have to buy their own supplies. That's all we can do at this point. But we'll no longer be providing like you have. You have provided free student supplies.
okay, so that's the list that gets us to the current reduction of 41,340,139 after the last reduction from the Board of Finance on the 21st. So any questions from anyone, suggestions, comments on the current situation?
Just had a question about, Dr. Compton, you brought up the STEM, and I'm
Yes.
trying to understand that. Does that mean that the STEM is currently in the specials rotation?
Yes, it
At the
is.
middle school,
Yeah,
and
it's
that,
in the unified arts.
and so that position is being reallocated to the science?
Now, what's happening there with that specific position, we have a situation to where one teacher will be moved to the science teacher position, and the current STEM teacher will have to be put into a content area. That's why we're losing the STEM by eliminating a teacher. That's our situation.
So the STEM position is being reallocated?
Yes,
for
and to
science.
another teaching classroom
So
position.
this isn't actually science that's being cut, it's STEM,
Right, but also.
because of the retirement
Right,
of someone
that's
who's
why we
currently
put it
in a
down to
science
science,
position.
yes.
This is where I struggle with attrition, and
Yes,
you and I
it's
go back
confusing,
and forth.
yeah.
All right, so it's the STEM. So the cuts are to the specials area of music and STEM at the middle school, and the
music,
content
high
area of
school,
French at the
yeah.
high school.
And also high school music teacher, that person did a .4 and a .6 at the
Okay.
middle school.
All right, so it's at both.
Actually, at one time, the audience needs to know this, there was 2 full-time music teachers here 2.5 years ago, and the current music teacher that has been doing choral at the middle school and high school was a .8 full-time at the high school. That's what we went down to. We went from 2 full-time to 1 now, period. And then less at the high school, another .8 position in the beginning. So we've really just destroyed arts and humanities from the music standpoint.
And unfortunately, what happens in that situation, when you overload a teacher, they leave. And you don't know if you'll get somebody of that caliber back in here. Good for now? Lori, any questions? Ed, anything?
No, I'm fine.
Jim?
I don't have a question as much as I have comment. The turnout for the first budget vote, 10%?
Yes.
10%.
Out of
I always thought the
11,000.
majority ruled, but nonetheless, 10% of the people who voted down or voted in the budget referendum, 10%. And of that, approximately half decided that they didn't want it.
Yeah, the number was
479?
1213 total. I don't have the
The breakdown.
absentees, but it was 465 yes to 748 no.
So difference of
11,000.
283.
But the thing that we don't have, and realistically, we are unable to determine why they felt they could not accept either the town budget or our budget, the Board of Education. That information is not available to us from the masses that made the vote. So that isn't very helpful for this board to take into consideration what the various thoughts were as to what we were presenting for the children of this district, this town. And we never get that, really, except anecdotal evidence, an individual 2 or 3 telling us, well, I can't afford an increase, or I cannot see why the Board of Education needs to have so many administrators, which is baloney to begin with, nonetheless. We have a district in need. We have a district that has a responsibility to children, the future of this community, the future of the state, the future of our nation. And people, for whatever reason, don't seem to understand the importance of those children who rely on us to make good decisions for them, who rely on us to promote fairness and excellence. And all our efforts, our best efforts, seem to be continually thwarted. Well, I can't afford it. I just wonder how many of those parents with children in the district voted no, yet will provide their children with a vehicle if they're able to drive, will provide their children with expensive footwear or trips to shows and so forth and so on. All those incidentals that parents tend to find the resources to provide for their children, but yet education seems to be on the back burner. I don't understand it. I'm going on 20 years on this board, and I still don't understand it. Why in the past we continually had this tug of war with this community in terms of providing the best we can for their children. Totally frustrating. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
I think as board members, however, I think we can be frustrated and we can advocate for our students and we can advocate for our staff, for the staff, which we need to and we should, but we also have to listen. And I think I want to be clear and I want people listening to understand that we have had multiple posted meetings. We met at public meetings. We met on January 9th, January 14th, January 27th. The board had the budget on their agenda. March 24th, March 31st was a special meeting just to address the budget, and we're meeting tonight. We went before the Board of Finance on March 17th, March 19th, and again after the referendum on April 21st. So we have made ourselves available to the town for that dialogue and to hear from people. We did not know back in January, or at least I did not know, the impact of the referendum, of the reevaluation, that folks' house assessments went up a tremendous amount. That's real. Folks are concerned about that. There has been a change in how car taxes are calculated. That was a huge impact to the grand list. So people are suffering. We have a percent of families that require free and reduced, qualify for free and reduced lunch that we have not seen in years. So it is something we have to listen to. We have to hear. The Board of Finance is telling us that every time we go before them. So we do have to look at our budget and make some choices here and think about it. On the other side of that, as public schools, we are the place where kids who come from families that are struggling have access to things like music education, like sports, like food at no cost. So we also have a responsibility to help those families that are struggling for the kids in our community. And we also provide some great entertainment and opportunities for our seniors and our families. I know my 87-year-old father goes from high school sporting event to high school sporting event and loves it. So I think we can be a hub for the community of the people who are really struggling with their taxes and everyday expenses. But I think we have to listen and really address what the Board of Finance, and I wish more people would come out. I wish, I'm happy to see some folks here, but I wish we heard more voices because people are very brave behind a computer keyboard and frankly kind of mean. So as a board member, it feels kind of mean, the things that are being said. So I think it's a balance that we have to strike, and we have to be able to hear from the community while we're advocating for our kids, our staff, and our programs.
yeah, and a lot of the stuff that I can't really do the social media thing. It boils my blood, but also, to your point, a lot of the things that are being thrown out there are just not true. There's a lot of misinformation out there. To your point, Garofalo, the fact that administrators keep getting thrown about is mind-boggling to me. We only have 2 principals at every school. We have a director of pupil services, we have a superintendent, and a director of curriculum. That's it.
We definitely have the smallest central office that you would find anywhere in the state of Connecticut. And again, we've gotten rid of 2 administrators. I mean, we have lowered the numbers. People don't understand. We have cut, and we're down really to the bare bone.
And the other piece was about a hub for the community. I was here on Saturday, and we had a Veterans Appreciation Concert, which our middle school band kicked off, but it was 4 hours in that gymnasium with bands from the middle school all the way through the Connecticut Hurricanes. You know, and if those are the type of decisions that we have to make, you know, where we have to close our doors on the weekends, right now, that's another cut we made. We don't do anything on Sunday because we can't pay the custodians overtime. So practices, sporting events, things like that, anything within the schools, we no longer do that. So any questions on this? I don't want to take action on this because if something should change, but as of now, these are our cuts. The one that really bothers me the most is the STEM program. Being a bit of a nerd myself, hopefully something will change from now until July 1st. So one more time, anyone have any questions on how we got down $1.5 million? Okay. Where are we here? All right. So the next thing that we wanted to talk about is what happens after Thursday? What happens if another referendum fails and this number gets cut even lower? If the next vote fails, we really only have one after that. So everyone should have this flyer. So Dr. Condon, do you want to talk through what could be on the table going
Yes.
forward?
I'm glad that our Seymour athletic director is here with us as well. I think it's important to know that we all value sports. I value academics, I value sports, value fine arts, value it all. What is so sad is if this budget goes down again and we have to cut even more, then it looks like that we're going to have to go to the pay to participate in sports and extracurricular activities, meaning that families are going to have to pay for their kids to be in the different sports programs. There are several districts that have done this. Our neighboring district, Shelton's done this. For years, this Board of Education has provided, I feel like, the best that they could have provided. They have funded sports the best that they could. And we're now getting down to where it may have to go to pay to participate. So you make sure that you emphasize that in the paper. I want our parents to know that they're going to have to start paying for sports. This could be next on the cutting block. This is where we stand. We have built, just look how well that our athletic teams, since I've been here, they've done outstanding, and all, even before me for many years, state championships, volleyball, softball, all of the different sports teams, and how well they've done. So when you look at basketball this time, girls basketball made it to the Final Four. I mean, this is sad. The parents, this may be exactly where we are headed. Another situation, we've been able to have uniforms on the cycle. Our dedicated athletic director, I'll have to say, she's put together And then the worst case scenario that I have basically really never had to do in my career as a school superintendent, very, only one time, and I was not a superintendent at the time, and I had to work with what's called reduction force, where we lay off teachers. We take people's jobs and lay them off, and we've just faced a teacher shortage, and now if it comes to this, we're gonna have to lay people off. That means certain categories, that means we could lose a counselor, we could lose a psychologist, we could lose special ed teachers, classroom teachers. Looking at maximizing exactly the staff, everything would be on the table. We would have to abide by our union contracts and seniority, because seniority always rules. The last one in or usually the first one out, and what job categories. But we're talking about looking at all categories, and that'd be the most heartbreaking of all. And I will tell you, it's getting to a point to where we can't cut anymore. You have to have teachers in the classroom. There are certain class size can only go so large. So you have to have classroom teachers. High school-wise, you have to meet graduation requirements. So you have to have so many programs and so many teachers. And then we can look at the middle school as well. So we're looking at everything, but the first end goal will have to be, they'll have to pay to participate. And that we have spent over $200,000 in the budget. It's always been a priority, because sports is important. It's important for our kids, for our community, and the tradition of Seymour. But and the other times, and I'm gonna wrap it up about mandates, you have to have a certain amount to meet statutory requirements. You have to. So then who's gonna pick it up? You get down to the minimum basic requirement. I'm not an attorney. Our attorney is here, but that's when that's gonna kick in. And we hope that wouldn't even happen. That would just be horrendous. It really would be. So that's where we are.
Okay, so staying with that, with the what if after this Thursday, any comments, questions? All right. So the next item is talking through minimum budget requirements, legal obligations, which is all statutorily protected. So that's why you're here, Attorney Dugas. So for those in the audience and those listening, can you explain what minimum budget requirements is and how it impacts a school district?
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. The minimum budget requirement is built into the Connecticut General Statutes, Section 10-262J. And what it basically says in the most simplistic level is that a community must, by statute, fund the Board of Education budget no less than the amount it was funded the prior year, plus any increases in your ECS grant. That's the simplest version. And there's opportunities, situations where there can be some adjustments to that based upon enrollment and some other factors. But that is, that's basically what the minimum budget requirement comes down to. Here in Seymour, you also, of course, have your budget, your charter. And the charter provision reads that in the event the Board of Education budget is not approved after repeated referendum, but have been reduced to the point of meeting, it says, debt service and legal obligations, then the budget shall be deemed to have been adopted. So I don't know exactly what the practice has been in this area, but that says to me, in addition to meeting the MBR, you also have to meet legal obligations. And obviously, legal obligations would include contractual pay increases and things of that nature. So We'd have to look to exactly how that's been applied in the past, but at some point in time, by law, the community is going to be forced to adopt a budget that makes sure it meets those minimum requirements.
And
Thank you for that clarification. I wasn't sure from a legal standpoint, but that's what I wanted you to clarify. I think it's very important how he stated about the contractual agreements and things that have to be met, and then also when you get into the special education as well.
And for those here and those watching, if the budget does not meet your minimum budget requirement, can you explain the ECS penalty, what happens to that?
Yeah, essentially, the state will take back, penalize you and take back a multiple of the ECS monies, funds that you were supposed to receive. So there's a significant penalty that comes along with not funding it.
And if that happens, hypothetically, and the budget is approved for less than MBR, who funds the rest of it?
Who funds the
Who would
deficit?
fund it to that deficit? Who's responsible to give the Board of Ed the money to their approved budget if it's under MBR?
The town.
Because and I know this has been mentioned in previous meetings, but the ECS grant is calculated for as revenue in the town budget.
Right.
So that's money that comes from the state for the school system, but it's accounted for on the town side of the budget.
Correct.
And what is the amount?
The educational cost sharing is $11.9 million.
Okay.
That's
So
into the
that-
town.
So that $11.9 million, even though it comes through on the town as revenue, is our money, correct?
It's for the benefit of the school system, correct?
But the town has complete say in how they decide to use the monies, and we do give special ed, excess special ed, which I think is 22%. I think I've read that, I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Special ed.
Yeah.
I can make one clarification. For every dollar you fall short of your MBR, you lose $3 of ECS.
Wow.
Now, it's irrelevant whether the school district loses the $3 or whether the town loses the $3. It's $3 of overall funding to the community from the state. It's a penalty. So on top of not having met your budget to meet your obligations, you're actually losing money that has already been included in the budgets that the town has put forth to the taxpayers.
And do you know how the ECS is calculated? Why it goes up and down like jagged teeth every year?
I think a lot of people would like to know the answer to that.
Okay, that's what I figured.
It's a combination of, political sausage making, as well as the funding from the legislature for the overall pot of ECS money.
Right, because it's important for everybody to know, our increase this year was what, 1 point?
Our increase this year was, yes, it was about.
Like 1.9, it wasn't very much. The year before, it was like 4%.
It was only, last year, for instance, the ECS went up about $600,000. This year, it only went up $138,000. It went up approximately 1 point something percent. I think last year there was an equalization factor that occurred that, from lagging indicators from the prior, as a result of post-pandemic. I don't think you can expect more than, going forward, I don't really think you can expect more than a 1.5 to 2% increase in ECS from what I've been hearing.
So in addition, so in addition to that, the reduction in ECS, the reevaluation, the loss of revenue on the motor vehicle, that's kind of where we are. And for those that don't understand, I believe our mill rate was 42 something. I can't remember what it was last year, but the state sets the mill rate for motor vehicles.
Caps.
Caps.
And once it drops below that, you can't generate revenue from motor vehicle tax any higher than your municipal mill rate for your property taxes.
Correct.
So, you know, there was some loss there as well.
And if people have been following the state legislature and the governor talking about the ECS, he has proposed an increase, well, way less than people have wanted to do that. And the extra money that he has proposed in ECS are going to the 5 largest cities in the state of Connecticut, not to a community like Seymour. And people have to understand that also when they vote for their legislators. Because they speak for us at that level. And it should not be that just because we have maybe nicer homes and stuff like that, that we don't get an equal share of the ACS, or not equal, but a decent amount of the ACS, and not everything goes to the cities. I'm tired of hearing that.
Okay, so the MBR stuff, the legal obligations, any questions from anyone?
It's just a
Comments?
sad situation for the town, for us. I mean, it's tough times, and but you see the ramifications if we would have to go to the MBR. I mean, it just really would be sad and not good.
Anything? Yep.
I have a question. Are you familiar with any towns that, or cities, that have sued their local boards or committees for restoration of monies that they've lost as a result of
It's
vote?
happened. I don't think it's happened in recent
Sonia,
years, but
right?
it has happened.
Did it in Sonia, next tower?
Yes,
Yes,
you're
they
right.
did.
You're right. I think it's settled, but yes, they did.
Now,
About 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
is that a viable recourse for boards? I mean, it's a
It
political
certainly
hot
isn't a
potato,
win-win
most certainly,
situation.
but
Yeah. No, I mean, politically, it just leaves scars for years. That's certainly not a course. Even if it were a likely positive outcome, and I can't tell you that it would be without knowing more, the other ramifications of it are not possible, but it is certainly something that's available.
Just one more question. If for some reason we're running on this shoestring budget next year and something should happen, where a cost increase or something happens in the building, or we get a massive amount of outplacement of students and we run a deficit, can you sort of explain to everybody what happens at the end of the year?
Sure.
What we would have to do to reconcile that?
So by statute, you're not permitted to run a deficit, okay? And in theory, you guys would be on the hook for that. You do have.
Personally, correct?
Personally. You do have by statute the ability to request a supplemental appropriation from the town, so that would be a step before that were to happen.
So, yes, so just a reminder to everybody, if the 9 of us are on the board and there's a $9,000 deficit, that's $1,000 for each of us if the town doesn't do that, correct?
Sal will keep an eye on it, I'm sure.
Anything else you'd like to say about this whole
No,
NPR mess?
no.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, so we have our list of current cuts that get us to the current budget that's going out to vote. We have an idea of what's coming next, and I truly hope we don't get there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So the vote is Thursday, May 1st? Is it May 1st?
Yep.
Yes.
At the community center, like it is every time. And that's pretty much it. And yes, absentee ballots are available if you cannot make it. I'm hoping the turnout is a little bit more than 1,213 now that we are not on April break. but I think the biggest cut or the biggest slashing of this budget happened at the town meeting. I think that 750,000 really did a number on us. So that's it for me. I will go around if anyone has any comments or anything. Lori? Kristen?
Just two pieces, and I've said this at other meetings. There are people who are new to our community that don't know how the budget works. There are 169 different community school districts in Connecticut, and they all do budgeting slightly different. So when you're out taking a walk, talk to your neighbor, tell them about the referendum. Try to get people out to support the budget. We are also undergoing a charter revision process. Right now, we have a town meeting system, so that after 6 meetings between the Board of Ed and the Board of Finance, we go to a town meeting where if 50 people show up, anyone can make a suggestion to cut the budget. And if the majority at that meeting vote yes, the budget is cut. There is no ability per our charter to add any money, so it really doesn't account for all the voices at the town meeting. That is part of our charter that is being revised right now. So read the minutes to the charter revision, participate in that process to see if either we can get rid of that town meeting process or have a process that allows all voices so that you can ask to add or ask to cut at that town meeting, but be aware and that is where we took the $750,000 cut, not from the Board of Finance. I think those were my 2 things.
Mr. Mello?
Well, I said last meeting too, I encourage people to vote, and I encourage them to vote for both budgets. But I would say especially for the education budget. And all people. That's what makes America, America. You have the right to vote. We're not a monarchy where big shots make decisions. People make decisions. Utilize your vote. I get agita when I see how few people exercise their right to vote. And the budget one was disgusting, the low percentage. Disgusting. That's the only word for it.
Jim?
I spoke my piece.
Dr. Compton, any final words?
Thank you for the opportunity to, I just wanted, again, I expressed what I think, and it's time that our public schools need to be the priority of this town. Future is in the hands here of the school district and this Board of Education, and their kids are our most precious assets.
I agree. All right. If there is nothing else, we can close the meeting and adjourn at 7:04.